The world order you grew up with is collapsing faster than anyone expected. For nearly 8 decades, the United States and the broader Western alliance have shaped the global system. They set the trade rules, controlled financial institutions, dominated military alliances, and defined what development meant. Countries either aligned with Washington or they struggled. But over the past 10 years, something unprecedented has happened. The foundations of that order have begun to crack. The gap between the global north and the global south has narrowed. And in the background, a new coalition has been rising quietly, then suddenly not so quietly. They are the BRICS. Originally, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. What began as a simple economic acronym invented by a Goldman Sachs economist has transformed into a political force that openly challenges Western dominance. And in 2024 and 2025, the shift accelerated. The BRICS launched the largest expansion in their history, inviting countries like Egypt, Ethiopia, the UAE, Iran, and Indonesia. Others, from Saudi Arabia to Argentina and Nigeria, have shown interest as well. This isn't a small club anymore. It's a global counterblock. And every expansion raises the same question. Is the Western-led world order approaching its expiration date? Today, the BRICS represent more than 51% of the world's population, a demographic weight the West cannot match. But more importantly, their combined economic influence is growing at a pace that is reshaping the global balance. Measured in PPP terms, the BRICS control around 40% of global GDP, and year after year, the gap with the West is shrinking. Western economies, the US, EU, Japan, Canada, are aging fast. Their growth rates hover around 1 to 2% per year. Meanwhile, the BRICS average is nearly double that. India grows at about 6%. Indonesia is accelerating, and Ethiopia remains one of the fastest growing economies on the planet. Even as China slows, the sheer scale of its economy keeps the bloc anchored. And then there's resources. BRICS nations dominate global production of oil, gas, minerals, food staples, and manufacturing. They control strategic choke points, from the Strait of Hormuz to the South China Sea. When you combine population, resources, industry, and demographics, the result is clear. The center of global economic gravity is shifting eastward and southward. But the BRICS are not only competing economically, they want something much bigger. The true BRICS revolution is political and institutional. While the West built institutions like the IMF, World Bank, SWIFT, NATO, and the EU, the BRICS are now building alternatives. They are openly discussing reducing their dependence on the US dollar, expanding the new development bank, creating parallel trade networks, moving away from Western-controlled financial architecture, and building diplomatic alliances that challenge Washington and Brussels. For many emerging countries, joining the BRICS is not just an economic decision, it's a declaration of independence. We no longer want a world designed only by the West. Countries across Africa, the Middle East, and Asia see the BRICS as a chance to gain leverage, diversify alliances, and avoid reliance on Western lenders and political conditions. And for the first time in decades, the West can feel it. Its global influence is being contested from every direction. What happens next depends on how deep this shift goes. If you live in Europe or the United States, the rise of the BRICS might seem distant, but for the global South, it feels like a long-awaited correction. Many countries remember decades of structural adjustments, IMF loans with strict conditions, and a global trade system where the West always got the biggest slice. The BRICS offer an alternative narrative: partnerships instead of lectures, infrastructure instead of sanctions, and investment without political strings attached. China builds roads and ports. India supplies medicine and digital infrastructure. Russia provides energy. Brazil offers agriculture. The Middle Eastern members add capital and strategic position. For dozens of nations, this is attractive and often more appealing than Western involvement. That's why the BRICS are becoming a gravitational center, pulling in states from 3 continents. The world is moving away from a single dominant pole toward a fractured, multipolar landscape where power is shared or contested by multiple blocs. But this raises the biggest question of all. What will the world look like if the BRICS eventually surpass the West?